Hi, I'm Candace Mallet, and welcome to The Sit Down. Today we're joined with presidential candidate Senator Cory Booker.
Thank you very much. It is great to be in this circle of Black excellence.
And we are so happy to have you
And
here.
people can't even see, like, we got Black camera people, Black sound. It's just like I'm surrounded by a circle of Blackness. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you for being here. We have a lot to talk about, so let's just get right to it. With so many Democratic candidates running for office, why you and why now?
Well, right now we have an urgency in our country. We're falling into, I think, a time of divisiveness, tribalism, people pitting Americans against Americans. And what I learned as an organizer is that when we can unite people in a righteous cause, that's when great things happen. And so I'm running for president because I do not believe that the lines that divide us are stronger than the ties that bind us. And I think we need a leader that can energize and ignite a sense of common purpose, because clearly we have common pain. And I believe I'm the best person to do that so we can get back to the work of justice. And I just want to say that this campaign is not about what we're against, it must be about what we're for. And I know a lot of folks feel like the number one thing is we just want somebody to beat Donald Trump. And I'm like, can't we have bigger aspirations than that? Beating Donald Trump is the floor, it is not the ceiling. And as a guy that lives in an inner city Black and brown community, just getting rid of Donald Trump does not bring justice to our community. We have a lot more work to do, and I want to unify this country to do that work.
My name is Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. And where are you from, Aaliyah?
I'm from Inglewood.
You're from Inglewood, not
California.
Englewood, New Jersey. Englewood, California.
And I'm currently doing a documentary on the gentrification of Inglewood. So I noticed in your plan, you have allocated $16 billion to make housing in urban areas more energy efficient.
Yes.
So do you have a plan to prevent these resiliency efforts from gentrifying Black and brown neighborhoods?
Yeah, I'm very sensitive to this because as a guy who's been working to turn around a city when I was mayor, and now somebody who went to the Senate very conscious of what's happening around America, which is you see indigenous communities being moved out in cities from Miami all the way to here in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and it's disturbing. And you have large percentages of Americans who are paying more than a third of their income just trying to hold on to their rent, make their rental payments, and that is unacceptable. So much of our housing plan was designed specifically, actually, to prevent gentrification and to empower communities, indigenous communities, to benefit as communities start to turn. And so there's a number of things in our plan that directly go to that. Number one, we give tax credits to people who have wealth to help them create more wealth. And I support some of these, like the mortgage interest deduction, but that overwhelmingly helps people that are making six figures and above. We should have a tax credit for renters, that if you're paying above a third of your income in rent, you should have a tax credit. We have actually a refundable tax credit for that difference. That would cut poverty in our country by millions. It would help our renters. And if you add that to our RISE credit, which is a doubling of the earned income tax credit, would give 150 million Americans a pay increase, cut poverty in a third. These are some of the tools that are in my plan to empower indigenous communities, empower urban communities for people that stay in.
Hi, Cory. My name is Kadeem, and I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York?
From Brooklyn, New York. We're next door neighbors.
I love Brooklyn, but I feel some kind of way that you all snuck into my city, stole my basketball team.
All right.
You stole the Nets. Admit it.
We made them better, so you're welcome.
Oh.
You're welcome.
All right.
But, so given the number of African Americans dying at the hands of police, what do you say to people who think that gun control laws should include the police?
Look, anybody who talks about reducing gun violence in this country and doesn't also talk about the diversity that exists. We don't talk enough about domestic violence. We don't talk enough about suicides in this country, which are the majority of the 100 on average daily gun deaths we have. And we clearly don't talk enough about unarmed African Americans dying at the hands of police at rates that are stunning, multiple times higher than for white Americans. And so that has to be the plan. And so this is the frustrating thing to me, is we had a movement to start doing more at the federal level to do something about that. President Obama had a 21st century task force on policing, where they had Black Lives Matter leaders sitting down with big city police chiefs talking openly about the problems of implicit racial bias, about use of force. And a lot of that has now stopped. If I'm President of the United States, as somebody who knows the indignities of being followed when you go into department stores, pulled over disproportionately than your white friends, we must have accountability, transparency, data collection, and ultimately we must focus on ending the scourge. And so when I'm President of the United States, we will have a Department of Justice that gets back in the business of holding police departments accountable. We will have resources, like when I was mayor, I worked with the ACLU and the Department of Justice to create nationwide standard-setting transparency and data collection, because we found out the hard way in Newark when we collected the data about our police practices. Suddenly we saw clearly we were doing things wrong and needed to improve.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Kyland Young. I'm from the High Desert, which is a small town a couple hours outside of LA.
Okay.
So
I'm embarrassed. I know Southern California well. I have never heard of. It's called the town. Is it a high desert?
So no, the area is a high desert. I tried to give you a shot of hearing it. So Victorville is the town.
Why don't you claim your town?
Because nobody knows it.
But how are they going to know it if you don't claim it? I mean, seriously. Everybody knows Hope, Arkansas now because Bill Clinton claimed his town. Claim your town. Give it some attention, man.
It wasn't
Here
a great
you are
place.
on like hundreds of thousands of people going to watch this, and you had a chance to give props to your town, but you almost as an act of shame, you did not name your town.
All right, let me try again.
All right.
We'll put Victorville on the map real quick.
All right.
So my name's Kyland Young. I'm from Victorville, California.
Okay.
And Trump has said that our country is too full and that we can't accept any more people when he's talking about immigration. So even people lawfully coming into America. So what's your plan to expand legal immigration?
So just understand the outrage of what he has said, that somehow Canada's taken folks, I mean, all these other countries that are our peer nations, and I don't even think they were peer nations. We are the most powerful nation on the planet Earth. We're saying that we can't take more immigrants when immigrants have been the source of our strength. I mean, you see that the overwhelmingly Fortune 500 companies are founded by either immigrants or children of immigrants. And so I'm going to fundamentally expand the arteries of immigration because immigration is lifeblood to this country. And I'm going to continue that. But even more than that, I'm going to give pathways for the people that are here, whether they're here on temporary protected status, whether they're dreamers and their family members too, pathways to citizenship. And I'm going to make sure that we end practices that undermine our very values, whether it's putting children in cages on the border or where you're taking away a grandfather from his American children or a spouse away from their American spouse. That has to stop. We see fear coming into our communities now, where I sat in Nevada with a 14-year-old that said her friend wouldn't even report an assault on her because she was worried. This is an American citizen born in this country. She was worried that her undocumented parents would have to come to school and then would face deportation. What are we doing to our society that, as opposed to being the nation that stands up with the values of the Statue of Liberty, instead we're standing up and saying, do not come here, and if you're here, we're going to tear apart your families, put children in cages, violate human rights, stop people from coming who are seeking asylum. This is outrageous.
My name is Jennifer, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Now that's a big place. Where are you from in LA?
Lamert Park.
Okay. Oh, where? Which part?
Lamert Park.
Okay. I know Crenshaw well. I have family who live
But
in.
I was born in Inglewood, though. So
Okay. The
Yeah.
document.
Yeah.
All right. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to King Drew Medical Magnet.
Okay. My mom went to Manual Arts.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
down the street from me.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to pass that every day on the way to King
All
Drew.
right. All right. Her brother went to LA High. My uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had cousins that went to LA High,
All right,
so they
all right.
might know each other.
We
you
might be
know?
family. You
You never know.
You never know. Let's do
Content.
some DNA.com and figure out what's going on.
So studies have shown that Black home ownership is the lowest it's been in the last 50 years. What do you think is the leading cause of this? And if you're elected, what would you do to combat this issue?
Well, it's part of a larger trend. Black homeownership is going down because the racial wealth gap in this country is growing wider. We've literally lost ground in the black-white wealth gap, and it's one of the largest it's been in 2 generations. And we have to deal with that. And we have to deal with it explicitly. In other words, The wealth gap was created because of explicitly racist policies in our country, redlining, mortgage discrimination. You could go back to the criminal justice system, which is not only a criminal injustice, it is an economic injustice, because when you have kids in prison right now for doing things that two of the last three presidents admitted to doing, when they come out, they have a lifetime sentence. In other words, they can't get jobs, they can't get loans from the bank. And so we have to start crafting policies that that are racially conscious, that try to deal with this injustice. And so one policy I have that will deal with home ownership and a number of things that Columbia University says effectively for young people will close the racial wealth gap is a policy called baby bonds that we designed to address this issue. It would give every child born in America a $1,000 savings account, regardless of race, color, income, you name it. Every kid gets a $1,000 interest-bearing account. And then every year, based upon the income of your family, you would get upwards of $2,000 placed into this account. And by the time you're 18, the lowest income Americans, and 1 out of every 2 children that's born below the poverty line, would have upwards of $50,000 in wealth. Now, because there's more poor white people in America than poor blacks, but blacks are disproportionately poor. The average black kid would get about $30,000, average white kid about $16,000. This would actually close racial wealth gaps and give African Americans and whites, anybody who's low income, now wealth. And they can use that to go to college, to buy a home, to start a business. Because paychecks just help people get by in America. But getting wealth, it becomes generational. And we need to start doing things that create wealth and balance that wealth gap. And this is a plan that we designed that specifically gets at black home ownership, college affordability, and many other things that hold back this new generation of young people right now. So my closing is a challenge to you all, because we don't need a savior. We can't sit back and say, if we just elect this one person, no matter how handsome and bald they are, that they're gonna solve all our problems. It's just not gonna happen. If you elect me your president, I'm telling you, I'm warning you. I'm the only president to give you a warning. You elect me president, I'm gonna ask for more from you. Especially young people. In every movement for social change, young people have been at the center of it. And we need to start having presidents that start demanding more, because as Frederick Douglass says, power concedes nothing without a demand. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. And we have to start understanding that we may not be called to do freedom rides or march like they did on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, knowing we're gonna get beaten, but we've gotta be willing to get involved, get engaged, serve, be more activists leading this country. And not just to get a president out and a new one in. That is not victory. Yeah. That is about position. It's not about larger purpose. What's gonna change this country is if we take it back and we engage it. I don't want to take it back in any time period. I'm talking about taking it back for the people, because the power of the people is always greater than the people in power. If we do that, we will not only replace Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, we will actually be able to bring about justice. Make justice, as King would say, roll down like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream.
Thank you. Yes. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.